Last time I made this windmill, which didn't really produce that many volts, mainly because the blades were just made out of some old pipe, which wasn't exactly aerodynamic, and it used this quite small generator. But this time with version 2, I've created actual aerofoils, which I've attached to a fairly substantial generator, and connected some makeshift electronics to see how many volts a decent windmill can actually make, and whether it's enough to add a voltage regulator and charge a phone. But to get this new and improved design for the blades, I had to analyse a few aerofoils and do a little bit of aerodynamics. And I was able to just kind of 3D print these designs, which turned out quite well. However, it did leave these sort of small imperfections that I needed to just sand down. But the blades themselves did turn out relatively strong, thankfully. I also designed them with these sort of tabs and slots so that when I put them together they would be perfectly aligned. And then I thought I'd polish the whole blade with this sander. But that only really kind of ended up melting the plastic. So then I moved on and just started working on the part of the design that connects the blades to the generator, which uses these things, which are just some old hinges I found, but all I really need is just something strong like metal that I can drill holes in and pass a few bolts through, as the design looks like this, where just a couple bolts pass through the blade to secure it in place. So I need 3 bits of metal, ideally without the hinge part, for 3 different blades. Which weren't too difficult to get, they just don't look great. They're kind of just very rusty. But it's nothing a little bit of paint can't hide. And now, as each blade was printed in 2 sections because of the size of the printer, I have to join these 2 together, which I couldn't really use a bolt because it's not really that thick, so glue was the second best option, which was kind of just smeared all over the tabs and then the 2 were slotted together. And this type of glue does create a really strong connection, but it does also expand, so I had to cut away this sort of excess afterwards. But now the blades are just ready for the door hinges to be slid into place, although some blades did need a bit more of a delicate touch. And now everything was ready for a little bit of an upgrade. And this larger motor should produce a lot more voltage, but I do need access to its sort of innards, which means tearing it apart. Ideally after I've removed all of the screws. Although, even after removing everything, this thing was still really difficult to get apart. It was only really held together by the strength of the magnets. But they are some pretty strong magnets. Which I guess is a good thing, but it does mean the blades will have to produce quite a bit of a force to get this thing spinning. As this motor really has 2 main components, this ring of coils and these permanent magnets, which are always producing a magnetic field which is used to create the current within the coils. But the reason I want it inside this thing is so that I can drill holes through this section so that I can attach the blades onto the outside of the motor, the housing, each at exactly 120 degrees from each other. But that's not the only degree of freedom, as the blades themselves will have a specific pitch, and different pitches will result in the blades being able to produce less or more force. For example, if the blade has a really small pitch and faces almost directly into the wind, then it'll create a small force, but it will create this force even in low winds. However, if the blade has a really high pitch, then it'll create a really large force, but it will require a large wind speed to do this. But the best option will probably be somewhere in between, which I need to try and find. And to set the blades at specific pitches, I created these little wedges which just sort of slide under the mounting mechanism, which itself consists of just a couple bolts for each blade. But they do still just need a couple holes drilled in the face of the motor, However, after starting to drill the first hole, I quickly realised it wasn't making it all the way through to the other side of the motor, which is when I realised I'd actually been drilling around about here, meaning I had to go through this big chunk of metal, and wasn't exactly the ideal place to put a bolt. So I had to go back and make some adjustments and remeasure some things and make sure I wasn't going to hit another little patch of metal. And after a few more attempts, I was able to get something that looked a little better. Although, having to make these alterations to the holes in the motor, I then had to make more alterations to the blades and to the little wedges, which were very much improvised alterations. And then the last sort of part of the whole mounting process was to just get a couple bolts. Although at this point I kind of just went online and just ordered far too many, because at this point accuracy was thrown out the window and I couldn't really remember what I'd made. And in the end I did find a couple bolts that fit, although adding them to essentially what is a ring of magnets has its issues. Although once the bolts were in, it was just the case of adding the little wedges and then adding the blades and then just securing it with a nut. And with just a couple more bolts added so that the blades don't slip off their mounts, the blades are finished. Although now I do need to put the two bits of the motor back together and put the coils back in the magnets. And I can kind of just feel the magnetic forces coming off these things. So I'm kind of worried they'll just tear everything apart when they rejoin. But they didn't, so everything's okay. And so, just after reattaching all of the screws, the next thing I had to do was to try and find a way to actually hold this motor, to make sure that everything else doesn't spin when the blades are spinning. And so I made this thing, which helps if I put it round the right way, which is just a little 3D printed bracket, which attaches to the groove along the motor's shaft, hopefully holding everything to the body of the windmill, the same sort of one I used for version 1. And the only real thing holding it down is just 4 screws. But the motor and the blades and everything that hangs off of it weighs quite a lot. I think it's probably around about 5 kilos maybe. So if anything's going to break, I think it'll be this thing. Although, at this point, now I've kind of got the functioning features of a windmill, which does seem to spin quite well. And with the sort of mechanics out of the way, the only thing left to do is the electronics. Although, as this new, more powerful generator produces a 3-phase current, I need a bridge rectifier to turn it into DC. And thankfully, I made one of these when I made my 3-phase generator, so I could just nick it from that and connect it to each phase coming out of the generator. And from there, I'm kind of at the point that I can do an initial test by just connecting the terminals of the rectifier to a voltmeter. And with the last version of the windmill I created only really being able to produce around about 2 volts, this time when I started spinning it, the readings kind of went off the chart. Although the chart did only end at 2 volts. So although it says overload, like it's really only producing 3 volts. So I changed the voltmeter so it could go up to 20 and just started spinning. And this time I was able to creep into double digits, producing around about 10 volts. And then I did kind of have to get back to making the more sort of functional parts of the windmill. For example, this is the tail fin, which ensures that all the blades are pointing directly into the wind. So it just kind of steers itself. Secured to the body with just a couple screws, and then used a sheet of wood as the fin, which was then just cut into a more sort of fin-like shape. For no functional reason, it just looked better. And with the tail finished, I then moved on to the tower, which currently is the same one as the version 1. It's just some old bit of scaffolding, but it's a bent bit of scaffolding. So I lay it on the floor and I thought I could just flatten it by hitting it with a hammer. But the only thing I ended up flattening was my thumb. So I then just sacked off the idea of straightening the pipe and decided that I would just cut it at an angle so that the base would sit flush or level. And then with every essential component of the windmill finished, the voltage regulator arrived, which is part of the system that allows me to take the electricity generated and charge a phone. But first it needs all of the wires connected and then a USB and charging cable connected to the phone. But that's kind of it. It now takes the DC voltage from the bridge rectifier and caps it so that only 5 volts is supplied to the phone, basically acting as a limiter and ensuring the phone isn't given too much power. And so when the generator is spun and produces more than 5 volts, the regulator should flash and the phone should charge. And which, in this small sort of indoor test, seemed to work quite well. And then all that was left to do was to strap the bridge rectifier to the body of the windmill, connect up all the wires, and then it kind of left me with this just mess. But at least it did work. Then strip some cables so that the DC voltage could be passed from the windmill down to the ground where all the other electronics were. And then just raise the thing into the wind. And it looked great. You could barely tell that the tower was a little bit squint. But that didn't last very long. It now kind of permanently sits at this sort of 10-15 degree angle. But it still spins, so there's no real harm. Although, when I say spin, when I first took it out, it did kind of need a little bit of persuasion. But that was mainly just because there wasn't very much wind that day. And I did have a lot more success the next day. And when it was held up by just sort of a bunch of scaffolding and held down whilst the wind was blowing, the thing with its new aerofoils did seem to spin pretty fast. Or at least a lot faster than the old version. So then I connected it back up to the voltmeter to see what the numbers were looking like. And considering that last time the windmill kind of topped out around about 2 volts, and when it started turning, this thing didn't look too bad when it soared on past that and managed to top out at 17 volts. Which is fairly respectable and should be more than enough to charge a phone. And so it was time to test that theory and connect up the voltage regulator. And then when this thing started spinning, I wasn't really ever in doubt.